Today we are going to talk about how to survive the dark night of the soul. How you can, I wouldn't say overcome it, but how do you cope with it as you go through the dark night of the soul? What are the things that you can do to ease the emotional turmoil that comes with it? Um, so I would like to ask you before we get started if you have ever felt lost or alone or unable to bear what was happening in your life. If there is any time in your life that you felt like you hit rock bottom and you lost all hope and you were unsure where to go, what to do, what was really like what it was supposed to do with your life, and you felt completely powerless. And if you nodded yes to any of it, I'm sure like at some point in your life, you might have felt some sort of these feelings on a much stronger, deeper level. Because yes, feeling, there are times in our lives that we feel sad and we feel lost and we feel alone. But, that's normal. But when it's like very, very deep and you feel completely hopeless and powerless, that's normally a sign that you might be experiencing your dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul, really, it's kind of a phase that, although it has this really dark name, like Dark Night of the Soul, it sounds really like evil. I look at it as a very transformative phase in our lives that very, very often leads to a profound personal growth. It's kind of a stage of personal development when we find ourselves normally bearing some difficulties and sufferings and struggles, and I'm not going to lie, pain is normally triggered by some sort of deep grief. And grief can have many ways. Grief is not only when we lose a loved one. You can experience grief when you lose your sense of self. And might be because you lost someone that was very close to you, and you had some sort of identity with that person, some sort of role that's all of a sudden it was cut because you lost that person. But it can also be because you went through a divorce, because you moved countries, because you were a stay-at-home mom and all of a sudden your kids move out and you lost that sense of self, that kind of was what you identified with, what you normally say, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom. And then all of a sudden you're no longer a stay-at-home mom because your kids are no longer there. Or like when you go through redundancy or you lose a job and you kind of feel really lost and not knowing where to go and what to do with your life anymore. So those are some sort of triggers that can propel this personal development, that will come with some sort of suffering and difficulty and grief per se. And what normally this does is it serves as a wake-up call, really. Like it leads us to a transition phase. It's when there is like a huge shift coming, a huge transition in our lives that will ask us to expand, really, to go to another level in our lives. And in that transition level or phase, that takes us to a deeper truth and perception of life. Is when you start to really look at your life the way it is, and in at a collective level as well, and you start to question a lot of things, a lot of truths, a lot of perspectives, a lot of things that you took as truth, but in reality, all of a sudden, you start questioning because your perception of things is shifting. Your priorities are shifting. The things that you value change as well. If you are someone that are hearing this training, and the name Dark Night of the Soul sounds unfamiliar, or you kind of don't know what exactly this is, if it's scary, I want you to see it from other perspective, because most likely you encountered similar concepts in either your religion or even with psychology. So if you ever heard of existential crisis or some sort of depression, that's what normally society and religion describe what is Dark Night of the Soul. Because these experiences are closely related to the Dark Night of the Soul. Obviously, Dark Night of the Soul goes deep, deep, deep at a soul level. And not only that, you kind of, yes, you might feel depressed, you might have an existential crisis, but you normally are awake at some level. You aware at some level of what is going through, and you have the capacity to move with the waves. But what exactly does it mean to go through the Dark Night of the Soul? And what I have to answer to this is that everyone's experiences are different. They look different, but everyone experiences a Dark Night of the Soul at some point in life. But again, it will manifest differently from person to person, because it's a unique journey with its own set of circumstances. So during this time, when you're going through a Dark Night of the Soul, you might feel lonely, hollow. You might feel lost. Again, questioning everything around you, wondering where you are, what your purpose is, what you are meant to do. Why? Why are you here? What was the purpose of you being born? And especially, this might trigger some feelings of something is wrong with me, something has always been wrong with me. I didn't ask to be born, so why am I here? I never do anything that's good enough. No one loves me. So we go into that spectrum of feeling like a victim, and the victim and the child archetypes, that this is not fair. I didn't ask for this. Why everything happens, is everything happening to me? We go through that, to those shadow archetypes a lot, and all of these questions start come up. And I'm sure that if you think about it, you possibly can recall an experience like this in your own life, a phase in your life that you went through this. So if you are currently going through a tough and challenging time, or you have recently been through one, it's really, really crucial that you remember that this happens to everyone and that you are not alone. You are not alone. Hard days or dark days can be confronting. Yes, they can be challenging. Yes, they can be painful, and they will. But it's just like happy days, We we are we are cyclical beings, and life is cyclical as well. It's not linear, so we are not constantly happy or constantly sad. There are these waves that we go through. It's just we have polarity in us as human beings. We live with these polarities, and it's important to remember that yes, we are going to have bad days. We maybe some bad phases or not so good phases. Yes, we're going to be feeling sad, but we are going to feel happy. We feel happy and feel sad. And there are days that we feel both things in one day, and that is completely normal. And that doesn't define who we are and our worth. It's really important to remember that. And so these dark days, they too shall pass. And they too will pass because, again, we live in cycles. Although it seems like there is no way out and there is no hope and you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel right now, I guarantee you, you will. You will. Okay? So, when you find yourself in the midst of the dark night of the soul, it's really important to take some time for yourself. Okay? I wouldn't say isolating or pulling back from all social life, but creating time and space to be alone, not to be lonely. Those are two completely different things, but to be alone, to kind of pull back from the day-to-day chores and responsibilities and take some time just to look within, just to try and listen to your soul. And yes, although I'm not saying for you to isolate and just become a hermit, but when you're going through a dark night of the soul, your energy will be depleted. Meaning, your energy levels, there are some things that you will have to do in your life or carry on doing to, carry on living. And it seems like it feels much harder than it used to. And that is because energetically, and because it's a very, very emotional phase, you will feel drained. And there are things that will drain your energy more than it used to. So, although I don't recommend isolation, what I do suggest is if you feel like there is a necessary social commitment, maybe if it's unnecessary, right? Maybe the best decision is to be kind and gentle to yourself and create space for self-reflection and introspection rather than be on a social environment where you will feel drained, you will feel overwhelmed, and then will take away so much of your energy that will take you about 1 or 2 weeks to then recover from it. So if it's unnecessary, it's not selfish and it's not rude to choose you and be with you, to create space to really to go within, and to be with yourself. And the reason I'm saying this is because the dark night of the soul is a very intense phase. You will feel extremely emotional. You might be feeling triggered much easier. And because it's very emotional, it will take away a lot of your energy, even sometimes to talk, even sometimes to explain yourself. Not explain yourself, but if someone asks you a question and that requires, for instance, that you explain something, just that alone will make you feel tired. And you will start noticing that you start avoiding even phone calls and things like that, that if you feel like you keep repeating yourself, or that, you have to, go a little bit deeper than a surface level conversation, you will feel drained. So if that's you, creating space to go within, to be alone, not lonely, but alone, will help you to cope with it. Another powerful practice to help you survive, per se, the dark night of the soul is meditation. And what it does is it allow us to connect with our deeper truths, with our deeper feelings and emotions, right? And what happens during the dark night of the soul is that you feel lost. You feel you no longer know who you are, what you like, what brings you joy, what you are meant to be doing. So all these truths have been lost. So by doing meditation, what you do is you open the channel to connect with those deeper truths that now you feel that have been lost. And that will help you throughout this transformative phase that it's calling for these shifts, right? It's calling for these like deeper connections of what is your truth, not somebody else's truth, nor what society deems to be truth, but your truth. So if you dedicate around 10 to 15 minutes each day to sit in stillness and meditate, you are opening yourself up to profound insights and a renewed sense of purpose that comes from connecting with your inner truths. Another way that helps you cope with the dark night of the soul, it's sleep. And again, this goes back to how drained we feel and how our energy will feel depleted a lot of the time. And if you feel like you need to recharge that energy and have some power naps during the day, don't feel guilty about it, because you are basically pouring self-care into your cup. Because when you get enough rest, you restore, right? You restore not only your energy, but the balance between your mind and your body. You reduce the stress levels. Sleep is a really good practice to calm the nervous system, right? To anchor you in the present. And even though on a conscious level, I didn't know this when I was grieving my dad, the thing that I remember is for lots and lots of months, I would say until the beginning of this year, I used to need to sleep a lot after I lost him. And so, although, again, at the time I was going through a dark night of the soul, and my body asked so much of, like, for me to sleep, to rest. And on a conscious level, I didn't have that awareness, I guess. But on an unconscious level and on a more spiritual level, I did what my body was telling me, was giving me cues of what it was needing. So it needed rest. So yeah, if you're going through like something like that, um, I recommend either, if you can, have power naps during the day, have it without guilt whatsoever, because you are nourishing your body, even though you feel like you're not doing anything apart from sleeping. You're actually giving your body so much more than you could even realize. But even if you can't do power naps because you work outside the home and you just can't do it, just put away those late night distractions if you can, like TVs and phones and all of it, and really go maybe early to bed, and try to have like a sound sleep, a very like deep sleep, rather than having your mind just overriding everything, and you're not really resting whilst you're sleeping. So yeah, sleep, it's a very, very good way to help you cope and survive the dark night of the soul. And for me, it was the thing that truly helped me survive that phase. Another thing that you can do is nature. It's just going in nature. And I think, I know I keep saying this, but nature is the ultimate medicine. It brings you so much peace and calmness to your life when you are really grounding yourself in nature. Laying on the grass, walking barefoot on the grass and on the sands, simply meditating in the open air, and even if you don't like do that kind of meditation or whatever, just sitting outside with your eyes closed and just paying attention to the sounds and the body sensations and to your senses, what you can smell, what you can hear, what you can feel, like the breeze of the wind, all of those things. That's already kind of meditating, because you are practicing mindfulness. And even if you just do it for 5-10 minutes, it will help you so much. Because you kind of reconnecting with something so much bigger than yourself, and it will bring you a sense of tranquility. It will calm your nervous system, it will help you ground, and it will balm your soul, actually, what your soul craves during this challenging time that is the dark night of the soul. When we go through a dark night of the soul, it's so easy, it's so easy to neglect our physical and mental health. And that's why depression, it's so connected in kind of psychology terms with the dark night of the soul. And so it's really important to nourish ourselves with wholesome food. It's very, very easy when we're going through the dark night of the soul and we kind of feel so tired. It's easier to grab a pack of crisps, a can of Coke. It's very easy to grab a cake. It's okay to give to your body those things when it craves it. But when you do it all the time, what it does is not bringing nourishment into your body. So basically, the energy nutrition that, or the energy levels that would come from the nutrition that you have from the things that you eat will not be there. These processed foods and snacks and all of those things, they give you a little bit of a high, or that feeling that you're full, but it's not long lasting. So you keep just, going back to the same, but because it's not long lasting, it just makes you feel worse, right? It just makes you feel worse. And adding to that, if you start gaining weight, then it just aggravates how you feel about yourself. So, and I know what I'm talking about because I went through this exactly the same way. And that is because we feel so tired about that. It's just easy to, not eat healthy, or not to drink enough water. So, yeah, just try to go for a balance kind of nutrition here. When we're craving, just, yes, it's okay to give your body that, especially if you're going through your menstrual cycle. You might feel that your body really craves some sort of like either salty foods or sweets. Yeah, give it, but not all the time. Yeah, not all the time, because it's like the constant the constantly giving that unhealthy kind of nutrition that brings toxins into the body, and it just aggravates our emotions and how we feel and our energy levels as well. So it's just kind of a spiral there, and it doesn't help. So yeah, what I suggest is instead really to try and provide the necessary minerals and nutrients to your body, and that your mind and your body need to heal from and grow through this process that is the dark night of the soul. And another thing that helps is to seek knowledge during this time. Knowledge is power, I believe. Okay, I'm a bit of an addict to learning, but I believe that knowledge is power. And so when you navigate in the dark night of the soul, if you embrace this quest for knowledge, if you get curious about the questions that you keep asking yourself, you can actually gain insights and understanding that will help you make sense of what you're going through. It's going through that, quest for learning and understanding why you feel the way you do, that will give you the awareness and the insights that will help you not only navigate this phase, but overcome it as well and come out of the other side. So yeah, I suggest like engaging in reading books that inspire you. It can, but doesn't necessarily have to be self-help books, but something that inspires you and that helps you connect with, again, your deeper truth, because that's the thing that we tend to lose when we go through the dark night of the soul. Our the way we thought our truths were, or what we thought our truths meant, it's like you lose all of it. You start questioning everything. Your perspectives change. So anything that, can give you that knowledge, give you that awareness of what you're going through, and connects you with the deeper truths to you, again, not what society perceives to be truth or what we are conditioned to believe that was truth, but what is your truth at a soul level. That will help you to be like kind of a guiding light during these challenging times that are that is the dark night of the soul. So what I wanted to remember is that while you are navigating the dark night of the soul, remember that this is a deeply personal journey. You don't have to go through it alone. Like, if you have someone that you trust, might be a family member, might be a friend, a therapist, a coach, like someone that you can share what you're going through, that will help you a lot. It can be a community as well, like community either in person, a community in your local area, or like grief groups and things like that, or even on Facebook, a community that you feel like you are welcome, that you feel seen and heard, like people get what you're going through. That really gives you such valuable support to go through this phase. You can also seek counseling or like professionals that specialize in healing and energy work. You can also enroll in a course or a group program that specializes in what you're going through. And so you kind of feel like everyone in that group or in that course, obviously it's feeling the same way as you do. So you don't feel like you are alone. You don't feel like that's something is wrong with you, because that is the thing with the dark night of the soul and all this shadow work that we do. We tend to think and to believe even that something is wrong with us just because we feel the way we feel. But once we understand, or we see that actually there are more people going through the same. So, wow, I'm not alone in this. Like, I'm not weird. Like, there are people out there that feel the same way. So that actually helps you to feel more confident about yourself and about what you're going through, and helps you as well, to get the support really to navigate this phase. Remember as well, because maybe some of you might think that the dark night of the soul is a punishment. You might think that you have sinned in some way and this is a way of you being punished, but it's not. I want to reassure you, this is no punishment whatsoever. Everyone goes through this. As I said at the beginning of the training, the dark night of the soul, even though it has this kind of name, it's an opportunity for growth. It's an experience that most of us go through that will lead us to a profound personal growth and to the awakening of your soul for what really you are meant to be doing in this life. So it's no punishment at all. It's simply an opportunity for growth. It's a wake-up call. It's all that is. Especially if your soul have been trying to get your attention for a long time and you've been ignoring it. the universe sends you these wake-up calls to really make you stop and do the work that your soul has to do in order to grow and have the evolution. So when it reincarnates again, it doesn't have to go through the same lessons, right? And have some peace and maybe learn some other lessons, but we don't have to repeat the patterns again. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's no punishment. It's an opportunity for growth. So I would like to have faith that there is something amazing awaiting on the other side, even though you can't see it right now. If you're going through the dark night of the soul, it will. You will come out of it with a different awareness of who you are. You'll come out of it knowing who you are, what you're not longer open to. If the things that you have been committed to, being experiences, relationships, situations, if they are helping your growth, supporting your growth, or they no longer resonate with you. And you kind of start setting boundaries, healthy boundaries to yourself and to others. You start appreciating yourself and loving yourself in a different way. You know what you want, you know where you're heading, and you just embrace who you are, right? Because you remember who you are at a soul level. You remember what you've been meant to be doing. So all those truths that you were conditioned, they no longer affect you because you know what your truth is, and that's what matters. So yeah, I reassure you, after you go through this process, you'll come out of it on the other side and so much stronger. So much stronger. So what I have to say is just that you trust this journey. Trust that will make you a more enlightened person. It will strengthen your belief in yourself and in your place in this world, because you are special. You are meant to be here. You have a place here, right? And once you understand that, once you connect with those deeper truths, you will be able to see that. And yeah, the dark night of the soul, again, will pass with time. We are cyclical beings. We don't live in a linear reality. So this it's just a temporary phase. It's just here to propel you towards your true self and to a brighter future. So yeah, embrace the journey. Don't be scared of it. Embrace the journey. Try and develop your intuition, because that's what's going to connect you with your deeper truths. And you might even find that you discover spiritual gifts in everyday life that before you were just not aware of. And also remember that you are so much stronger than you think you are. And there is light beyond the darkness. We are soul beings having human experience, and in this human world, we live in polarities. So again, yin and yang, the dark and the light. There can't be dark without light, and it can't be light without darkness. So there is light beyond the darkness. Always remember that. Even that it doesn't look like it right now, it does.